From Lawrence, Kansas, it is another episode of the Bad Dad House Road Trip 2025 with your host, Tap Morgan. Tap twice, once to like, once to subscribe, and if you want to help the algorithm, share it. Share it with a friend or make a comment. Let me know where you're seeing this from. I want to briefly talk about this penny that I found on the ground. Ever since my father died, I find pennies in really random spaces. And every time I see one on the ground, I always bend over, pick it up, and say, "Hi, Dad." One of the reasons I do that is because my father had this giant brown jug full of pennies that he collected. And I always, in my head, as my child memory, I linked my father to pennies and pleasure, because it was a pleasure to either get pennies out of that jar as a reward for something, or put pennies in the jar just because we had extra pennies lying around. So interesting that a penny lying on the ground in the men's room today, when I stopped to use a men's room, I found a penny and I said, "Hi, Dad," because it's like a connection that never breaks with me and my father. Do you have any interesting things like that where you see a flower or you see a tree or you're visiting a space or you're in a place and then suddenly you start thinking about a person that you connected with there? In Lawrence, Kansas, where I'm sitting right now in my truck just reminiscing, I'm thinking about people more than I'm thinking about places or things or restaurants or anything like that. I'm thinking about people that I met and that had an impact on my life. The Dennis Karpowitz family, well, his name came to mind for some reason. So I just think when we begin thinking backwards, sometimes we get stuck there and we forget we're here now and we're different now than we were then. And if I were to walk up to some of the houses of the friends and people that we associated with in our church, or see if the homeless people that I used to try to help on the street on Massachusetts in Lawrence, Kansas, that's their main drag, see if any of them are just still hanging out, looking around. I don't know that they know me. It's been many, many, many years since I lived here. So life changes us, doesn't it? And it changes other people, and sometimes connections break, and then we reminisce and reconnect in our minds with pennies that we find on the ground or places that we're sitting. It's just interesting.